What up, Chipper Chaps? This is Chipper Chap Chat episode 138, and I'm FooRay.
I'm Chamba.
We're going to talk about some nerdy stuff. Nerdy stuff. Nerdy stuff.
That was good. That was a good one. That was a good one. I like
uh,
that one.
we both have seen Alita,
Alita, finally. This is the Alita episode.
both early, so we're gonna have.
Mm-hmm.
It's good that we're posting this one later.
Yeah,
Uh,
right, right.
but this one had a lot of marketing went into trying to get this thing ready to go at the
Yeah.
end here. It seemed like I'm seeing ads for it everywhere. They're really trying to push it.
I'm seeing ads now though.
Yeah, they waited. They sure waited.
I think I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get people like just to remind people last minute say, "Oh, by the way, remember we're coming out with this flick. Hopefully you can watch it."
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm really curious how this one's gonna do because so much of what was talked about was like, oh, her eyes are big, and I think that's weird. Whereas it never bothered either of
Nope.
us, from what I remember.
We were
So
like, we're signing up right.
yeah. So I don't know if it's gonna affect people differently. Like I saw it with my roommates, and one of them was saying that uh, pretty quickly they stopped noticing the eyes, like it was just part of it.
The general consensus from the people that have watched it that had issues with it prior to actually stepping into it, they
Yeah.
said after the first maybe 2 minutes,
Mhm.
you forget. It
Yeah, you're
becomes
just not
part of
really
you.
paying
You get
attention
you
to it
get
the same
immersed
way.
into it, and all you see is the character and
All right.
what's taken place. So far, audience reviews from like the people that I speak to who don't really know much about it, who just
Mhm.
went into it blindly, have really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's nothing in here to really strongly dislike.
No.
I feel like the weakest point in the movie to me was kind of what I already thought was the weakest going in. Was I just wasn't super pumped on the love plot line.
Part of the
Uh,
story, though.
but just I feel like the guy that they picked,
Could have been
d-
cast differently, right?
yeah, I don't feel
Yes.
like he inspired any of why she would be as into this dude instantly that she
Sure.
was. And I feel like he wasn't really necessarily written in it. Maybe it was how he was acted, but I don't feel like he was
I
written in a way that made me care about him.
I felt I've seen it twice now.
Uh-huh.
Um I think a different actor could have brought something more to it.
Yeah. I mean, they
Personally
definitely
speaking.
like showed him topless, and that's important to get the girls on board.
Right. But honestly, a different actor, like something I
We're
felt
going
that.
full in on this conversation, I'm
Oh yeah, yeah,
assuming.
yeah. All right, let's just before we spoil anything,
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I hard thumbs up. Hard thumbs up
Uh,
from me. I really enjoyed the crap out of it.
so 1 out of 5 chipper chaps. How many chipper chaps?
Oh, easy, hard, easy 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah, I really like this. This is like, um, pro my, the issue. If I'm gonna have any issue with this,
Mhm.
is that I want more.
Yeah.
That's really,
It,
and I
I
and
feel like they definitely left it in a place where we could get more.
and that's what I'm hoping for. Like, I really want more because there's so much more story you can tell.
Yeah.
Um, and that's my issue with the film. But yeah, solid. I enjoyed it a lot. This was definitely like my excitement for it paid off. Paid off.
Yeah. I would say
Paid off.
if if anyone who's watching this has ever seen like a Hunger Games or a Maze Runner or a Divergent or any of these like teenager saves the world movies, this is the best possible version of
This is
that.
the best version of that you'll find.
Yeah, and it's based on something cool, and the action is fucking radical.
Dude, this
But it's
was
definitely it felt like a YA kind of story.
right.
But I didn't have a problem with that at all. I feel like it was surprising to me for how violent the source material is, how much they were allowed to still have. It's pretty violent.
Dude, it
It's not
really is.
gory. They don't show
No, no.
blood everywhere, but it's like it's hardcore. It's savage. Some of the
It also
violence
it
is
also
savage.
helps that the android blood is blue.
for sure.
So you
But
can get away with
some
things like
people
that.
get murdered in
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
too,
yeah,
in
dude.
pretty brutal ways.
Right, are we in spoiler territory yet? We're
Well,
not.
let's get
We
there.
will. We will
I would
eventually.
say
But
on
what
my
do you give it?
review, I would say I don't
You'd
know if I give
recommend
it
it though.
4.5, but I'd give it 4.
Yeah, I give it 4.5. I really like this. Like, put it this way, I liked it enough to. I want to buy the Hot Toys, dude.
I'm going to buy the Blu-ray for sure.
Oh, the Blu-ray, I
And
definitely
if
will.
they do a 6-inch figure, I
Oh,
will be very interested in
I'd
that.
be very interested. I
I
want
can't do
that.
a Hot Toys. That's a lot of
I'm gonna
hundreds.
do Hot Toys. I'm
Well, you're
trying.
more baller than me.
I'm trying.
I
Honestly, I'm
support it.
asking mates because I have mates who have better access to that type of stuff because I've never bought one before. So they
Right.
have better connections in those areas. So if I can get it for a better price than what most places are giving it, I'm in.
I support it.
I'm in.
I'm just not
I'm
baller
in.
enough
Yeah, yeah.
yet.
I think her design
Someday
is kick
I hope
ass.
to be baller enough to get a Hot
Right.
Toy someday.
To me, that's me treating myself because it's out. I think the figure is out December,
Mhm.
January, and I'm like, that's my gift to myself for Christmas.
They already have a couple that I very much want.
Hot
I'm
Toys?
just not baller enough. Yeah.
What Hot
Yeah.
Toys would you get?
Fucking Homecoming Spider-Man,
Oh yeah,
PS4
true.
Spider-Man,
That's
Spider-Man,
right. They made
Amazing
a
Spider-Man,
PS4.
Spider-Man.
They made a PS4 one. That's right,
Yeah, and I want it. That
dude.
motherfucker looks great. The Homecoming one comes with the little Letterman jacket and shit, and it looks awesome. I
Yeah,
want that
that's
shit.
great.
I want that shit. But those shits cost a million de
They
billion D,
do.
and I am
If I can find one
poor,
for a
poor,
decent price,
poor.
I might gift one if I can find it for a very good price.
If they had like a Hot Toys Piccolo, I'd probably want one of those.
Dude, don't even start saying
I
Dragon
love
Ball stuff,
Piccolo.
man. Because
Piccolo's my dude, man.
if they started doing like, there's a few. If they had the Fifth Element, I'd get them.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
I'd
That'd
get
be
them
great.
hands down. They don't have anything Fifth Element, but yeah. I'm gonna get this hot. Like Alita, I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
I think Alita is great. Again, though, especially after seeing the movie, I very much wish that there was a version of the figure that they did that had the like porcelain body.
I love the
Just-
porcelain
I
design.
love the design of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so beautiful.
I do. It's very beautiful. Although her suit
Her upgrade body obviously is
is
fucking
fucking
radical,
awesome.
and it does radical shit.
Oh, it's just fucking
But
great.
just for the beauty
Oh
of the
yes,
design,
absolutely.
that
Because I would just
porcelain
have her.
body is
Yeah, yeah.
incredible.
No, like I wouldn't even. I would present it with with nothing, just the actual body itself, because it's designed so well.
It is cool. Although I
Designed
do
so.
like when she went out with just like the sleeveless tank top and just the porcelain arm
Yep,
showing.
looks
I
so
think she
good.
looked radical.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's
lots of
talk spoiler.
cool
We're
design
getting in
stuff.
spoiler stuff now.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Where do we start?
Let's start with the design of the character. You obviously were a fan of the character for a long time.
Yes,
You've drawn
since
some
a
fan
kid.
arts and such. They did an homage to the red under the eyes. I was hoping there would be more to that.
I like that they
kind
still
of showed with
homaged it.
her homie, the Michelle Rodriguez Martian. She had the metal version under the eyes, which I thought looked super fucking cool.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we'll probably see more of that if we get sequels and such.
I recognized her voice immediately. I
Yes.
was like, such an interesting thing. I was like, I guess it makes sense. Robert Rodriguez plus Avatar connections equals she's going to be in this.
I think
There
she
was
was
lots.
cast well.
There was
Dude.
lots of characters who showed
Dude.
up where you're like, this has to be hopeful that there's a sequel that
Yes.
all these people are in it, because like Jai Courtney shows up for like 10 seconds to be like, I'm the super good at motorball guy,
Yep, I'm the
and
best
then never
motorballer.
see him again.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Norton is in this, like basically
Nova's a
uncredited.
major character in the story,
Yeah.
so
And they got Ed Norton, and
Yeah.
not in the advertisement at all that
Right.
he was in it.
didn't see
He's
that
just
coming.
in it. I almost feel like it was the equivalent when they showed him the first time. I was like, that guy looks familiar, but he was on that like hologram screen, so I couldn't really
I
tell.
was
what
almost
going
like, that's not James Cameron.
on. That would have been funny.
Because honestly, for
it kind
real,
of looked like him though.
that's
It
why I
kinda
was
looked
like,
him.
for real, he could probably play James Cameron if they ever did something like that.
Maybe it'll happen, but it was interesting. Before they did the reveal of the glasses, I had recognized him. Once they showed him smile the first time,
Yes.
I was like, "Oh, holy shit!"
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see because the majority of the character of what Nova is like, we've seen through Mahershala Ali's acting because they kept doing a thing where he takes over his body and then we see him as him.
Dude, the cast was excellent in this film.
Cast was excellent. Jennifer Connelly was in
Everyone
it,
was,
still smoking at like
dude. Yeah, I
105 or
know.
however
She
the fuck
looked
old she
good.
is.
She looked good. Christoph Waltz was great.
Christoph Waltz is great as Dr. Light. He was
He
fantastic.
was great,
Uh,
Dr. Light. He was a great Dr. Light. I mean, he didn't look nothing like he does in the manga, but how are you gonna get Egon?
right. I think they did fine. They
No,
gave
they
him
did
the
a good job.
glasses.
They did a
They
good
made
job.
him a blonde dude or whatever. It's fine.
The fact that they introduced the rollerball and everything, I was like, this is crazy. They're going. It basically,
Okay.
if you remember the OVA,
Yeah.
they did the OVA and more.
Question for you.
What's up?
Because they did the OVA and more, but you're familiar with the source material.
Sure.
Do you feel like they did the same thing Aquaman did and they just said, here's all of the stuff that we would pretty much ever get to do for an Alita thing,
No.
just in case we don't get to do another one? You don't feel like they
Nope.
packed it with
Not at
tons
all.
of shit?
Because if they were to do what Aquaman did, we would have got way more shit.
I mean, it was already long as fuck, and we did get a lot.
I spoke to a couple people who are not familiar with it. It's nice to see it with people who are not familiar with the source, just to see what they feel. And the general outlook for it based on their anyways, not I don't know, like obviously you watched it with people who aren't familiar with it too, but they liked it. They actually were engaged. They didn't realize how long the film was until it was
Right.
done. And in the end, they were just like, that was awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I feel like the transition into the I keep calling it murder ball, into the motor ball section was very abrupt. Like
Right,
just
right.
very suddenly, like now I'm at the tryout and now I'm doing this. And it was one thing about the motor ball section that I thought was unfortunate is I wish they would have let the game go on for just a little bit longer
I
so
do
you could
too.
see what the real game is.
Yeah, because I mean, they kind of showed it in the first time that when she was watching it.
Right. When
Even
they
if
go
they
there,
showed,
they
yeah,
show some of
even
it.
if they showed that scene a little bit more.
Yeah, I wanted them to show her playing it though, to
Yes.
see like she's
Instead of
actually
her just
good
trying to
at shit.
bloody survive, right?
Right, rather than just she's good at not getting murdered.
Yeah. That scene was fucking sick, though, man.
It was cool. It was very
There
cool.
was so
But it
much
was
cool
like,
shit.
it was weird. They just kind of jump through. She jumps through the wall, and everybody goes with.
Right,
And,
yeah.
and I,
That was a
I
bit
kept
strange.
imagining what is going on
Right.
in the stadium.
That's what I was
when
thinking.
that
I was like, so what happens then?
yeah, is everybody still sitting there? Like, are they going to come
It's like-
back or?
Did a camera follow him?
Yeah, everybody just left. You're
It's
chilling.
like, so what now? Do we just
But
wait here?
action-wise, I thought it was incredible. There was only one scene where it felt floating heady for me,
Which one?
and it was when she's following Dr. Light around in the alley because she thinks he's Jack the Ripper, and then
Grishka?
yeah, and then they showed the mantis hands lady.
Yeah, when she first got on the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when she gets up on the wall and she like pops her head up to like yell at the camera.
That was the.
Well, that was the only shot where it
Honestly,
felt
yeah.
very floating heady.
I-
It felt very Robert Rodriguez Planet Terror.
Yes, that was the only. Like, having watched it again just really fresh, like a couple hours ago,
Yeah.
that was the only shot where I was like. Now, I can understand why it would be floating because if you looked at her neck, it is kind of weird.
For sure.
It
But
was
just
weird.
how it was presented. I
just
feel
how
like
it was
if they
presented, for
lit
sure.
it different,
Yes,
where
absolutely.
her
I
face
agree.
wasn't so bright and her body kind of dimmer,
I agree.
I
I
feel like
agree.
it wouldn't have been as jarring. But
I-
because it was lit like so strong, I was
Yep.
like, wow, that shot was kind of awkward.
They didn't.
movement
Because it was not even floaty in how it was placed, but it was floaty in that it stood out too much.
Yeah, it stood out too much.
It
Exactly.
stood out too much. That was the issue there. Because
Light
everything
was-
else
But
was
I
bloody
did see
good.
it in 3D, which I don't know if that was a factor or not, but I saw it in 3D.
I saw it first time I saw it in 3D. Second time I saw it 2D. They handled
You
3D
like-
really
you know,
well. I mean, as to be expected, James Cameron behind with the production stuff, the 3D was great.
For sure, for sure.
Three, like seeing the action scenes in 3D, I'm like, oh man, this is good. Avatar 2
Um,
should be good.
I feel it, but as far as the motorball stuff, I feel like I was for whatever reason I was a bit more invested in the skirmish motorball that they did on the street, like the street hockey version,
I think it's
because
because you got to see them play. I
it
feel
was
what you
very
mean. Yeah.
clear
Hmm.
how the like
The
how the
rules.
scoring
Hmm.
worked and stuff like that, you know. But whereas I feel like once you see the real interpretation, it almost didn't even feel like the same game.
Because, like, honestly, if they added one shot in the first, when she went to watch it first time,
Yeah,
if they showed one of them score,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
automatically you would have gone, yep, this is the pro version versus the street league.
Right, and show the tackling kind of work the same.
As
Whereas like
opposed
when they
to them
showed it,
just
it
fucking
was
trying to
like
kill each other.
yeah, it seemed like
Yeah.
murdering. So, but that's one gripe with the sport that's in it.
Right.
I felt like the combat stuff was a lot of fun. Um, the action was more brutal than I was expecting. Just because they were going with the PG rating, I was like, okay, well, how are they going to get around like her cutting people up and
Dude,
like bad guys
the
cutting her
first
up and
when
shit like
when
that?
her porcelain body got sliced up,
Yeah,
I was
that was pretty
like
hardcore.
I was like
Wasn't expecting
shit.
it.
Yeah, I was like or when she bloody like did a one hand push up and just bloody stabbed him in the
Yeah,
eye.
that was fucking
I
metal.
was like,
I-
this is
The anime
hard.
aspects were
Oh,
handled
yep.
pitch perfect by just like we talked about. There was no way Robert Rodriguez was not going to put like basically shot for shot sections in that thing. Like that scene where she does that and punches him in the eye, that's out of the real shit.
Also, you could tell this film is a perfect example of the people behind the film actually care about the source material.
Exactly. It really shows.
It's what you see in the screen is the perfect example of people who are making it, caring about the source, and giving a shit about what they're showing.
Yep.
Cameron has been he's had a massive hard on for this franchise for a
Hmm.
very long time. And if he weren't bloody making his 16 Avatar movies, he would have directed this himself.
Yeah, he was supposed to
Yeah,
for a
he's
decade.
wanted to. And he was basically making all those other films so he can actually eventually get funding to be like, are you convinced like I'm going to do this now?
Right.
But he got Rodriguez, he got which I think he made a right choice. It was a good choice for director.
The only person I think that he could have gotten that I would have wanted to see it just as much would have been if he got Guillermo to do it, because Guillermo was the one that introduced him to the comic.
Yes.
So if that's the only other person they could have picked where I would have been like, this will turn out just fine. Like I was pretty confident Rod Rodriguez was going to be
Rodriguez was
pretty true to
yeah.
it.
I Rodriguez is a good choice because you know that he knows how to adapt things from like paper to screen.
Right.
We know he can do it.
The
He did it.
visual aspect
Yeah,
is important.
yeah, he knows like Sin City.
Hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a translation that's still one of the best to this day.
Yep.
This and in regards to manga, anime to live action, this is probably the top of the heap right now.
Oh, I would say without fucking question. I
Easy.
can't think of a
I
single
can't.
anime adaptation,
I
manga
mean,
adaptation that would be better live action.
in Hollywood,
As far
this
as
is
Hollywood,
yeah, in Hollywood, this is
not counting
easily
like
number one.
Kenshin and shit like
Like
that.
Kenshin to me, that's Japan. Japan's got that. But even Japan fails in a lot of their adaptations
They
still.
do, but Kenshin is one that makes sense in Japan. That would come out
Absolutely.
right.
Yes. That
At
one
least-
if you do that in Hollywood, you're an idiot.
No, I feel like they could, but they'd
Yeah.
have to get
Oh,
an
yeah,
all
yeah.
cast.
A lot
That's
of
one
it-
you can't fuck
Yeah,
around and
I
get
think a lot of adaptations can happen. Like Hollywood can definitely do them, but you
Yeah.
have to be way smart.
And you have to respect
really,
the source.
yeah, you have
respect
to really respect it.
is getting you the movie made.
Absolutely.
You're fine.
My nephew.
It's not that loud.
Yeah, that film. This one easily top of the pile. Top of
Jack
the pile,
Haley was like a
dude.
real
Did
fired
not
choice.
even didn't realize it was him until the credits.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it was a voice that I never would have picked.
He did a good job, dude.
Great job, but it just never would have been
Nope.
somebody I would have thought of, you know?
But see that, and that's why I'm like, that's so thinking out of the box. There's so many actors out there who are capable of so much more than we're aware of,
Hmm.
and that's what acting is, right? They're acting.
Right. I even really liked Ed Skrein in this, and
He
I
was
feel
good.
like I'm usually typically kind of
Zapan.
not not uh not negative towards him,
Yep.
but he just kind of exists.
Yeah.
I've never, even
He's
as
there.
Francis in Deadpool, he was
He's
just kind
there.
of fine to me. But I actually liked him in this
I did
role,
too.
and
He
I and he almost felt like Cyborg Vega in a way because they
yes.
set up the kind of face stuff.
Also, dude,
I loved his back design
not
too.
just that. I'm like, oh, I was so impressed by the CG in this film
Oh yeah,
because
great designs.
so much characters. Like because obviously seeing it the second time, I get to look around more. So I don't have to fully pay attention because I know what's going on. But
Right,
I'm paying more attention to everywhere
right.
else,
The art of it.
the art of it, yeah, taking it all in. And I'm like, there's so many characters in the background, not even
Hmm.
important characters that have robotic parts.
Right.
All those aspects have to be incorporated CG. I'm not sure if they're like they hired like amputee actors and whatnot to do those certain things. But either way, you still have to implement the CG into that. Like Zapan, it's Grind's character. He's back, not even just his back, his body and stuff. All the neck, you see through
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah, he was CG from the face down.
yeah, this is amazing. Like everything in this, like between his eye and ear is robot,
Right.
and I'm like, this is
Because
how
it's,
much
I'm
work.
sure they just had like green
Yeah,
screened out
but how
everything
much
but his like
work?
ears and face.
How much work went into this? This film was nuts, man.
I loved when he gives his monologue in the like
The bar,
hunter bar,
yeah,
and they get some close ups on his like
dude, yes,
musculature in his
love
neck and
it.
stuff. And I was like, wow, that looks really good. Um,
The dog guy
the dog guy was great.
was.
Who was that?
Oh, he's a regular in he's a regular Robert Rodriguez guy.
Okay, because
Yeah.
he like something about him seemed familiar,
Oh
but he
no, no,
had something
he's
going
in
on
like
his
so
get up.
many
I
Robert
could tell.
Rodriguez films.
Yeah, I
He's a Robert
loved that.
Rodriguez
Wasn't
regular.
expecting him to spike the dog with the finger thing, but that was great.
It's brutal. I'm glad they
Um,
didn't show that because obviously it's PG. You can't show that.
right, but I thought it was
Yeah.
an interesting way to get the dog bounty hunter guy to participate and
Yeah,
help.
yeah.
He's
It
the
was
only one
great.
that,
He's like, don't like dogs. He fucking.
yeah, guy doesn't like dogs. I hate people
I
like
hate people
that.
who don't like dogs. You can tell he loves dogs, obviously.
Yeah. Um,
There was just so many things here. I'm like, this is you're doing it right, man. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
I was telling another homie that went and saw it with me. I wish that in the biker bar section, because she takes out, or the bounty hunter bar, she takes out pretty much everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that there had been an emphasis, a little bit more emphasis when she's in her porcelain body on using weapons and shit because
Yeah.
she would know that her body was more fragile.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas she was still fighting with abandon like her body was invincible already.
Well, I
Where
don't think
I
she
think it would
was.
have been an interesting plot device if Ito was like, your body is not made for combat. So
But
you have
yeah,
to
yeah.
be careful. Then she could have
Sure.
used weapons and
Right,
shit
right,
and
right. But then I
has to
guess
fight the big guy and gets fucked up and then gets the
in a
body.
sense it kind of made sense that she wasn't really thinking it that way because when she fought Garishka in the bottom, she really it was something that didn't even cross her
Register.
mind. You know, it's something that didn't cross her mind at all.
Right. It
Uh
was fine, but I do just wish there was that added stakes of even
oh,
if
sure,
you
sure,
don't
sure, sure,
to
sure,
her,
sure.
you have to be careful. And
Right,
then
right.
she has to fight that big motherfucker in the hole. She's the only one who can, and then that she knows that she has the fragile body. That's more emphasis on
Sure,
why she would be
absolutely.
dodging everything.
Absolutely. As opposed to just dodging it out of reflex because it's a second nature type deal.
Right. And I mean, she's badass. She
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much, even in that fight, she doesn't lose a fight in this whole thing.
No, she didn't lose. Well, her body failed her basically.
Her body failed her, but
Yeah.
she still won that
Yeah,
fight with
she
just
did.
one arm and a upper torso.
Also, I like how they incorporated a lot of see honestly the stuff that I did not expect to see was a lot of the flashback aspects.
Oh yeah, but I thought they used them
No,
well.
no, it was used incredibly well. That's why I was like, "Oh, I'm surprised." Like I was pleasantly surprised. It's almost like now it's you're building a greater world now.
Right.
You're building the greater will. Like you're actually laying down seeds for hopefully things that will grow after the fact. But
Yeah, I'm curious because I don't remember everything from the source material. I'm
well, because
curious
that
how
was
the
like
story.
they left out so much from the OVA.
I'm curious where they will, if they are lucky enough to do well, and I hope it does
I
do
really
well.
hope it does well, man.
Because again,
The
those
reviews,
Hunger
critic
Games and
reviews aren't
Divergent
giving
and
it the
shit.
best.
Say what?
Critic reviews aren't giving it amazing, but the audience reviews are giving it
I just hope the
really.
audience is
Yeah,
there. If they go and it's
yeah,
fun, that they keep going because it's fun.
I do too.
Because Hunger Games and Divergent and shit, those movies made
Yeah,
gangbusters.
this shits on those.
And to me, this is the best version of
Yeah,
those you're gonna
so
get.
why shouldn't this make that and more?
I just wonder if it would have done any better if they would have pitched it to that same audience. Like if the
Mm,
marketing had leaned in that way. I don't think it did
it didn't.
because, but I wonder if they could have captured some of that if they
Right,
leaned
right, right.
into it. I think the chick that was in it, that played Alita,
She
did a
was great.
great job.
She was great.
She did a great job. She was believable as the character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only in a couple spots did the actual animation or rig look bizarre to me. There's like a couple spots where they showed like really extreme close-ups while she's like having fun on a motorcycle, and then in like some angles it'll look kind of bizarre.
Some angles aren't the like seeing it in 2D.
Right.
Her model doesn't look. Her model goes off. It feels like at some angles, but because you're invested in it, I forget some like a lot of the shots. I forgot that she was completely CG.
Yeah, for a lot of it, I don't even notice it. It was just when they would that like motorcycle scene where they push up on her and it was like an
Yeah.
unfinished.
Yep.
Then I would notice like that's a very like that's the actress's smile, but it's
Hmm.
made smaller and put on a rig, and I
Right.
could
Right.
see it in those
Dude,
moments.
can you fix the mic a little bit, bro? A little bit. Yeah.
I could see it in those moments, but otherwise, I felt like it was pretty seamless. Like even part of me went like, okay, so why didn't they just build her some arms and then put her in a sweater or whatever and call it good? But seeing the movie, it did make some things were important to me, like when they first show her porcelain arms and she's reacting to it, and then she comes downstairs and she has clothes on, but they're showing her like sneak downstairs, and the first thing I did was go, okay, what does it look like where her clothes are on? Does it look like they just had her in the outfit and had green arms and replaced
Because
it?
it
And I was
didn't.
like, no, they had her
Yep.
robot body so that when their clothes are on her, they fall on her like there's
Every
just
shot
a skeleton
was
underneath.
as if. Well, I mean, yeah, it made sense why she was completely CG, and they did such a fucking good job, dude.
Yeah, they did a great job. I
I
really
was
was
shocked with a
impressed.
lot of stuff, but I'm like, you've got Avatar guys back in ya. It's
Right.
that technology. Essentially, this is
What they're
basically
doing it.
they know what they're doing there, and that's why I was like, when they did like close-ups of her face, I'm
Mhm.
just like, that's freaky real.
Yeah, I feel like they did a great job.
Yeah.
I uh I do
The other
uh,
cyborgs look cool too, man.
even just the other motorball guys,
Yeah,
like
the
the one that was like a
motorballs.
motorcycle body and shit. I thought that was really
Like they're
interesting.
just a giant tank with wheels, but you just got the regular human face. It's in like a
Right.
helmet thing. Or like when
Yeah.
when they started pulling Grishka's head and you see his
Mm,
like spine just kind
right.
of wriggle. I'm
That was
just like,
cool though. I thought that was a
it
cool
was awesome.
sequence.
I loved it because I'm like, oh, so essentially he's just slotted into whatever new body
Yeah, and I thought the Asian guy who originally had
had
the
that. Yep.
robot arm, I thought it looked cool on him.
Yeah,
The way
it
that
did
the
look cool.
design of the thing looked was really cool on him.
There's so like yeah, Blu-ray. If
Speaking on the gore though, wasn't expecting them to, and I kept having to look how they handled when they cut his friend in half
they handled that pretty well.
because they halved him. He
Oh,
was dead.
oh no no. They actually showed having seen it in 2D as well. You see his legs
Yeah, the
basically there.
bodies
And I'm
next to
like,
each.
"Oh,
Other.
he did."
Yeah, and then I kind of wasn't
The
expecting
neck,
them
the
to.
cyborg neck.
Yeah, when they kill when Ed Screen like punctures the lover boy guy, okay,
Hugo.
Hugo, they stab him, and then Jennifer Connelly does emergency surgery on him.
They show their head.
They removed his
Yeah.
head because that was the only way to save him and
'Cause
put
she
him
was a
in a
doctor.
chappy
Yep, yep.
body.
Hmm.
and then Jennifer Connelly gets turned into just hands and eyes
They
and a
showed
brain, which
everything.
was fucking bonkers.
Yeah,
I
like
I could not believe when they did that reveal. I was like, oh shit!
I because I was like, they actually went all the way.
And
Like,
then but it was surprising to me because of how quickly they had to go through it. That they saved him with perfect surgery, got his
because
neck,
it's her,
put it
though.
on robot
It's
body.
her. Yep.
Then he goes up the thing and then immediately gets killed anyway. Immediately gets killed
But
anyway, trying to
that's what the
leapfrog over the thing.
I'm like, that's why I was like, they did the OVA and more, but in live action.
Yeah. So if to me as a fan of it, but not somebody who like watches it all the time or is the most current on everything Battle Angel, I thought it was great. I thought they did the best version of it that they could have done.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, so I feel like anybody who is a fan of it shouldn't be like worried that they
No,
messed it up.
as
Like
yeah,
it's not like as far as like like I love Ghost in the Shell as a property, and so I was like super stoked about Ghost in the Shell movie.
you wish
But
if
I feel
dude,
like
if Ghost in the Shell was handled the way this was handled, Ghost in the
oh, it would
Shell
have been
would
so
be
much better.
amazing.
It would have been so much better
It's
because
so
I feel
much.
like it with Ghost in the Shell they were like, here's some visuals for the thing, but we're gonna be obsessed with how everybody really wanted her to be Asian, so we're gonna make that a plot line and
Yep.
mess up the rest of the movie. Because there was great stuff in Ghost in the Shell.
Yes.
Bato was awesome. Some
Bato
of the
was
villain
excellent.
stuff was awesome.
The design is great.
And so they had great design. The geisha bots and everything were
Hmm.
awesome, but they bombed it with that stupid ass. We have to explain why she's not Asian storyline. They just shouldn't have even addressed it.
The plot was weak. The
Yeah,
weakest
they had
aspect
weak
of
ass
that.
plot,
Yeah.
dude.
Whereas here
But
it's just like, hey, we're gonna tell the story.
yeah, we're gonna tell the story, and the plot is simple this time. It's
Hmm.
not convoluted,
Nope.
so there's really not a lot to mess up. You
It
know,
gets a little more complicated later, but we'll get you through it. We'll
right?
show you what we
And
need to
I
get you
feel
through.
like the stuff where it is like world expanding, like
Hmm.
oh, here's where we could go. This is where maybe she is from, and
Yep,
yada
yep.
yada. That stuff to me is really interesting,
It was also
and I
handled very simply.
and it's very simply handled because the flashbacks were so well done to
Yep,
me that they kind of take care of a lot of that backstory
they do.
where if they never went to the Mars war stuff,
Yep.
then I'd be okay with it because they gave us enough of it.
Hmm.
But I liked what they show, so if they ever go, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that they showed flashbacks and such of her learning,
All right.
um, again of them taking down one of the actual, I guess one of the cities
Yeah.
already. I'm like, oh, cool. We're actually getting these flashbacks, but handled in a way where it's like it's not too complicated. It's clear.
Also, in a subtle thing that I don't know that was necessarily intended, but it was a cool kind of Easter egg, not quite, was the fact that she's the only one of these things with the big eyes. There's not like other kinds of robots that have these big eyes or whatever.
But it made sense
But
because
it makes sense because she's a fucking Martian
yeah,
too. So they have kind of
she
these
yeah
alien
only
features.
yeah if you're part of the
Yeah,
that's what you look
right.
like.
But it makes sense if
Yes.
it's kind of feeds into what we
Right.
already think of as like the Martian
Yeah, and
alien.
when everyone also when everyone's like, why is she the only one who looks like that? Well, because she's the only one left.
Yeah.
Did you see the other They look like that.
The only other thing that I don't remember how they handled it, so I'll have to go back because I can't remember now. Is how did they handle what her hair used to look like before Ito gives her hair and shit? Because I know in the war stuff that she had a helmet on. Did she have a helmet on when they were training her too? Because somehow they had to get
It
away
looked
with
slightly slick back. It was kind of just it was similar but not as full, it seems.
because they shouldn't have there. It's weird to me if he knew what her hair was
Right.
supposed to look like, but I don't remember how they handled it. I know in a couple of the flashbacks she has a helmet on, so you
Yes.
don't see it.
Most of the flashbacks had helmet. It was a similar length of hair. I don't know if the cut was the same.
Because like her homie also had like crazy. She had like fucking Final Fantasy hair.
Yeah.
But it was very different. It was red and
Yeah,
shit.
it was
So
red. It was red.
it was very different looking. It would have been interesting to me if she had like a very different look before she got there, because he
Honestly,
didn't
though,
have any of that
yeah,
info.
yeah.
She's just bald.
I think honestly, in the manga, it was kind of just treated the same.
Like she had the same haircut.
I think so.
Why not just have
I
her
don't know.
have hair on the torso body?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's yeah, that's an interesting thought. But then that's actually something that should have been edited in the manga.
Right, but again, I don't know how they. I can't remember
Because I
if
think
how they
honestly,
handled it in the movie
that
exactly.
like in the film, I think they adapted it the same way that was handled in the manga. So if you're gonna blame anybody, you can't really blame the filmmakers. Like that's a good thing to bring up. It wasn't an issue for me, but
I
it's
just
definitely an
remember when it
interesting.
was happening.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting fact.
I was like, huh.
Yeah.
So did he already knew what she looked like because he gave her a very specific cut and color of hair, and it wasn't like he modeled the hair off of his daughter because they show
Right.
the daughter,
Yeah, yeah,
her
she's
hair
a
didn't
blonde.
look like
She was
that.
blonde. Right, right.
So yeah, that part of it was just curious to me. Like
Interesting.
one aspect,
That's
like
such
a
a little
different
that's such
aspect
a
of
little detail too.
it's what my brain
Yeah.
does, man.
I that berserker body though, man, is sick.
It was sick. I like that. It like one of the functions is it can grow boobies for her.
Well, yeah, because it adapts to the user's desires in terms
Yeah,
of design.
one of the roommates, one of the female roommates, was like, "So does that? How does that nanotech work? If she wanted to bump uglies with Hugo while he was still human, like would it just grow in a little nano
I'm sure of it, probably,
cooties?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I feel like
because it's all
they are
nano.
established. If she needs a new attachment, it just happens. She can
Yeah.
just lock her sword into her arm now or
Yep.
whatever. So sure she can
Also, if
figure
she
it
like
out."
she could like when she healed up, it's like oh he doesn't
So
have to because it's all nano.
you remember the source material better than I do.
Yes.
Is there another love interest after Hugo gets killed this way?
Later down, much later.
Okay, so eventually they do tackle a love interest again.
A proper one when she's older, when she's matured, like way down the line, a couple of years, I think.
Huh. Okay. Because I just, when we were talking about it after, I was like, well, I just can't imagine how Hugo's coming back for the
No, he's
sequel.
not
And
coming back.
one of them was like,
This is like
well, he could survive. I was like, nah, his
he
head
dead.
was a real human head.
Yeah.
He's not surviving that fall.
Unless he lands on his yeah, it's not happening.
No.
No.
He could land on a pillow and he's still dead.
No, he dead. He dead hard. Um it was supposed to be just that though. It's like an introduction to like it's a first I guess real world emotion in a sense.
Right. I liked it, man. I say
I
go
liked
watch
it. Yeah.
that shit.
Absolutely. Please support this film.
Yeah, go watch some good
If you were
content.
at all interested, it's worth to check out. If you
We
can
got we got at least one homie that's been talking about it rough on the interwebs, and I hope he
who?
goes to see it. I don't want to bust nobody's name
Oh,
out.
you tell me later.
I'll tell you after, but I hope that he goes to see it and enjoys it because he's like I think Alita is his favorite.
Oh, then he has to fucking watch this then.
But he's saying, "Oh, it just looks like it's gonna be doo doo." Like he's been comparing
Based
it to
on
Last
what?
Airbender and stuff.
Okay, he's fucking. I don't know who this is, but you know what? Then don't fucking bother. You're missing out on something great.
Yeah, man,
You're
you're just
missing
gonna
out on
miss out.
something great. You're honestly by not watching this. If you're a fan and you decide not to watch this, then you're just removing an opportunity to enjoy something more of the actual
Your
franchise
bias
that you
is
enjoy.
fucking it up for you, man.
Yep. Yeah, you're honestly missing out on something that will basically you can see the love put in this. That's
Hmm.
really the difference with this and a lot of other adaptations. You
Yeah.
can feel that the people making this, again, give a shit about what they're making. The people
Also, I gotta
involved.
say, at my screening of it, they were supposed to show us some bonus content after the movie ended.
They didn't?
They showed the bonus content before the movie started instead of trailers.
So you said it kind of spoiled shit, right?
Yeah, it spoiled shit. So we watched a behind the scenes thing where they talk about plot points in the movie
No, don't do
and
that.
a cast interview where they talk about plot points in the
No, don't
movie
do that.
before we saw it. And the cast interview was like 20 minutes or 30 minutes where we were sitting there like, when is this movie gonna, like, people were around us getting upset and shit.
Oh man.
I'm like, how did this happen? And so anyway, because they showed those clips before instead of after, it the lights came on before the movie was over. Like during the third act, the theater lights went up because the timing was off. Because that
Oh,
shit.
because it was planned. The lights were planned for the after
Yeah,
screen as opposed. Why did they present it that way then?
I had no clue. But they fucked. Somebody fucked up though.
Yeah,
But it
that's no
definitely
good.
didn't contribute to the enjoyment of the movie.
Ah, that's
But
unfortunate.
I liked the movie either way. It seemed
Yeah,
like everybody else was pretty cool with it.
yeah.
One of the ladies that went very much liked it, but she's
Dude,
also most susceptible to these YA type of things.
the people that were during my first screening, people that
Yeah,
were next to us, they, you could tell they were fans because they were like, oh, they got that in it, they got this in it, and
right.
I'm like, you could tell they're actual fans because they had shit that wasn't just in anime. They had stuff in the manga
Hmm.
that they were like, oh my gosh, they're actually showing him and stuff like that. When they showed Nova, they were like, what the hell? That's
Right.
awesome, you know? And in the end, they were just like, that was bloody awesome. And I'm like, yeah, this is, if you're a fan that enjoys shit and not
This
a
is a
fan,
love letter to that
yeah,
shit.
because it's not like, because there are different kinds of fans. There are fans that will just hate on anything that's not what
Right.
what they like.
Remember.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Or not exactly not what they remember. It's like that's not my version of blah blah.
Right.
So I automatically fuck it. I'm that. And there's ones like, oh, I'm down for it. Let me see it.
Which one of those do you fall on for Aladdin?
Oh, all right. Based on no, that's a great one because it's not helping that what we're being shown is not doing it for me.
Right.
Because that's the difference. What when we first saw the Alita trailers,
Hmm.
that got me pumped because I'm like, it wasn't something that I was like, ooh, I'm skeptical. I'm
Right.
skeptical. You know?
We were already on board for what
Yeah,
they
we were
were
already
showing.
on board from the get go. Especially after seeing, I was like, oh, seeing the trailers, I was like, all right,
I
I'm down
remember
for it.
us talking about this before we'd seen anything.
Yeah,
When they just said who the girl that was playing her was, and we were like, "Huh? Well, at least they didn't pick like a white Scarlett Johansson
yeah,
type.
yeah, yeah.
They're trying something different. We didn't even know they were going to do the eyeballs shit
No,
at that.
no, but we were like, I'm down. I love Alita.
Yeah, she seems cool.
Yeah,
Let's see this movie happen.
we were
So
like
yeah,
that when they, But then I'm not really, I'm not a major fan of live action or I guess live action adaptations of Disney films.
true.
I think that's the difference also with anime and manga. We don't see any good ones. Period.
Yeah, I feel like like adapting Japanese properties like manga, anime is had just as troubled up history as like adapting video games.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
it's usually the people who get it just don't understand the
Right.
source material, what makes it popular, and so we end up getting some kind of like watered down, like broken version of what it is. We get the Gotham version of Batman. You know what I mean? And this one, I don't think did that. I think this
Nope.
was them saying, "This is our best shot at giving you this thing that we love."
Hmm.
And these are the reasons why we loved it, which is a different. It's a different thing. It's just automatically a different thing.
Like after seeing this, I'm like, I don't think this could have been done better.
No, I think this is best case scenario.
I think this is the kind of scenario we want in all adaptations.
Yeah, the only thing
We
that they could have
wish.
done to make it any more true is if they had said, "Fuck it, let's do a hard R," and
Right.
then
Of
made
course.
blood
Yes,
everywhere and
yes, of
shit.
course, of course. Like if they
But
really wanted to
I
be
don't feel like it was necessary. I
no,
don't think it would have made it better.
exactly. It wouldn't have made it better. It would have made it less accessible.
Yeah, it would have made it harder for everybody to go. But
For
I think
also
it was.
also for
They
the
even had a super good F bomb in there.
they did. It was appropriate too.
It was
Great.
appropriately
I'm
used. It
like,
was a
it was
great
used so
scene.
well. But like for
One
something that's
of the best
PG-13,
PG-13 F
oh,
bombs
absolutely one of the best. It was
probably
handled
ever.
perfectly. It wasn't just a throwaway. It was like you felt it when she said, "Oh, like, oh yeah,
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 you
she
got you
meant it.
gotcha." But like for something that's PG-13, they handled the violence. They pushed it as far as they could.
Yeah.
So we need more of this. We need more of this. If you're gonna do, just get people who give a shit and people who know what they're doing, but
Can I
mainly
just
people who give a
request
shit.
like even a sketch level artwork from you? Is I really want to see Battle Angel Alilu and like hybrid it with Lilu Dallas and give her like the whatever her version of the arms and shit would be.
Well, I would base it on the giant forms of the Fifth Element, guys.
I was thinking it would be based on the stones, but the giant dudes is funny too.
Well,
I
no,
wanna
like
see
I would make it more form fitting, but
All right.
essentially they have
I wanna
element
see it. I'd
designs.
love to see it.
Otherwise,
I'd
it'd
love
just be her face on a giant.
like the big ass gauntlets, like Gully or
Dude, just
something.
fucking gauntlets, man. That'd be tight.
Yeah.
That'd be tight.
Anyhow, it's good, man. Go see this
Yeah,
shit.
go see it. Honestly, if I had another mate, if other mates were like, "Hey, you want to check it again?" I'd probably watch it again.
If that doesn't tell you that it's good, it
Because
should. 'Cause
seeing it
it's
like
expensive as fuck in Australia to
it
go see these
is,
movies.
but this is a one that I can't wait to see this in 4K.
Oh yeah, I was already talking
Yeah,
like when this comes out, I'm watching it
yeah,
immediately. I
I'm
want to see
watching it
all those
4K.
details.
Mm-hmm.
All this is why
Ooh,
you buy an HD TV.
this film in 4K is gonna look
It's gonna be great.
beautiful. But if they do an art of book, I'll probably pick that up, man. I want to see all the design work that goes into
Go
this
look at
shit.
fucking Kino Kuni or something. That's gotta
Yeah,
exist.
I gotta see all the behind us, like all
They have
the
1,000 of them for Avatar.
right.
So
So
in any case, guys, this shit is delightful. Go peep it. So until the next one, stay chipper, chaps.
oh, nice. That was a good one.